You're very welcome to this Law Society Practice Support Information Session. I'm joined today by Finbarr Jeffers from O Leary Insurances. And today we're going to be discussing applying for PII renewal with some key dates ahead of us. So I'll stop my share and allow you to take over. So Finbarr, you're very welcome. And if anyone would like to ask a question, we'll take it on the chat.
Thanks, Justin. I just share my screen with slides. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah, you maybe make it full screen. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Thanks, Justin. Again, thanks very much, Justin. I'm delighted to be asked back by the Law Society to give this PII special presentation. It's always great to get in front of your members and do something a bit different rather than just talking to them on the phone. So thanks again. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll try and provide some commentary on what you should expect over the next 4 to 5 weeks in the run-up to the renewal, along with some best advice and how to navigate your firm through the renewal process. So on the agenda today, what we'll do is we'll go through what happened last year and try and give you some points of what happened with the market. I'll then move on to 2023. I'll give you a market overview there. I'll go through the participating insurers and what their appetites are like to look from a new business point of view. I'll then mention briefly the minimum terms and conditions and outline what renewal forms insurers are looking for this year. With regards to insurers' underwriting criteria, it hasn't changed from previous years. However, it is important, so I'll spend a bit of time on that. Then, following meetings with our own panel of insurers, I'll give you our view on their anticipated underwriting approach for 2023. I then go on to speak about top-up insurance and why it might be an appropriate time to revisit buying additional cover above the minimum level of cover required, which is 1.5 million. And then I'll just move on to our closing comments. So I suppose last year, 2022, it was the first time in many years that we had what we call a stable market with no insurer exits. As we all know, we lost the likes of Amtrust, Access, I should say, and QB over the last number of years. With many firms throughout 2020 and 2021 having to find a new insurer. The benign claims experience for the profession allowed for an easing in underwriting approach with shorter forms and renewal declarations being offered by a number of insurers. Again, in 2022, many firms were declaring an increase in rateable fees. And what I mean by rateable fees, these are the fees that insurers use to calculate your renewal premium. And the fees that they use are your fees for the last completed financial year. They are the fees that they use. But unfortunately, there was, due to COVID and maybe a carryover or a lag in fees, there was quite a large spike in the rateable fees last year. So, I mean, for example, Star were the only insurer last year who offered some fee forbearance on fee growth. So if your fees had increased by up to 7.5%, they weren't actually charging you any extra premium. But what transpired very early on was that a lot of firms' fees had increased far above and beyond 7.5%. So, you know, firms unfortunately didn't see the stabilizing effect because they were being asked for more premium because their fees had increased. There was, with regards to top-up insurance, again, there was a continued conservative approach in top-up insurance with insurers managing the amount of capacity that they put out for firms, and the cost per million of extra cover was generally very stable as well and really didn't increase. So 2023 year to date, I suppose firstly we need to deal with 2022. Q3 and Q4 in 2022, we really did see a return to a level of normality with stabilization of rates and easing of cover restrictions. And this has continued into 2023. Just for out of interest, the England and Wales solicitors' PI renewal date, they have two renewal dates actually. It's the 1st of April and the 1st of October. So they've just gone through their 1st of October renewal, and that usually acts as a gauge to what happens here in Ireland. And we have seen, flat, and it says they're single-digit increases. I would say single-digit decreases in premiums for many firms. So that's that's good news. Okay, so over the next couple of slides, these are the participating insurers, and there's 8 of them as of today's date. I'll go through each. Sorry, just to say the majority of these insurers will accept a short renewal declaration for renewal, or to give you renewal terms this year. So what I'm showing you here in the next 2 slides are insurers' appetite for new business, because for example, my apologies. For example, you'll see here AIG. Their minimum fee income for new business is 5 million euros. However, they have many firms currently insured with them that do not have fees of 5 million euros, and they will continue to offer renewal for these firms. So when I'm outlining, as I said, what their appetites are, it's from a new business perspective only. So we've dealt with AIG. Moving on to Allianz, they'll deal with sole practitioners and multi-partner firms. They're looking for firms with fees of over 250,000 euros, and they have a max conveyancing threshold of 35%. Aviva came into the market in 2020, and when they came into the market, they were only looking at firms with fees of over 3 million. That has now, the slide says here that has come down to 1.5 million, and it just shows you, and just to show you how quick the market changes, that is now down to 1 million, following negotiations by O Leary Insurances with Aviva. So they are now quoting for firms with fees of over 1 million euros. Next, we have Berkshire Hathaway. They were a new entrant in 2022. They're only really targeting the top 20 firms. They did that last year, and they're doing that this year. However, we do expect their target appetite to expand over the coming years. CNA and others, they're sole practitioners, multi-partner firms. Why I say they're CNA and others, previously CNA, the CNA facility, or the CNA offering, was insured 100% by CNA. They are now co-insuring that with another insurer. So when you hear about a new insurer coming into the market, they're not a new standalone insurer quoting standalone. They are just they're now after sharing the risk with CNA. So that's what that is. Liberty Specialty Markets, their core appetite is for 3+ partner firms with a minimum fee income of 500,000 euros. QBE might as well not be here. They've only got about 12 firms, I think, left that they insure in the country, and they're only looking at firms with fees in excess of 5 million euros. And then finally is Star Europe. They quote for sole practitioner and multi-partner firms. They do not have a conveyancing threshold, so it doesn't matter how high or low the conveyancing is. They will look to offer terms subject, obviously, to other underwriting factors. Star Europe is O Leary Insurances' exclusive facility. No other broker has access to Star. They've over 700 firms currently insured, and they're looking at expanding that, and have given us more capacity to quote for new firms, and have been very successful to date this season. New entrants I've got down there as question mark. As I said, there's one new entrant, but they're only there to participate in an existing facility. Okay, so just moving on to the minimum terms and conditions and the common proposal form. There no changes to the minimum terms and conditions anticipated for 2023 and 2024, which is very welcome from an insurer's perspective and from the solicitor's practices perspective, which means that you still have cover there for deficit in the client account as a result of a cybercrime, for example, which is very, very unique to solicitors' professional indemnity insurance. The common proposal form has been issued, and it's as long as ever, and they have this year insurers requested a sanctions question set be added. If you go back to the participating insurer slide, of the 8 insurers that are participating, 5 of those are headquartered in the States. So as you can imagine, they have very, very strict sanctions regulations that they need to comply with. So that's really the reasoning behind having those sanctions questions included. What do insurers look at when they're looking at your practice, or when their proposal form is in front of them? They look at your profile of your practice, whether you're a sole practitioner or a partnership. They look at your fee income over the last 5 years. They look at your areas of practice. As I said, some insurers have thresholds for conveyancing, others don't. So they look at where your areas of practice are. They look at your historic exposures. Conveyancing and undischarged undertakings, still, insurers still do look at that. But it is very fair to say that firms have made fantastic strides over the last number of years in discharging historic undischarged undertakings. What I would say is that, if there are any undischarged undertakings that remain undischarged, obviously, that are going back 5 or 6 years, put a note in with your proposal form, just saying that these undischarged undertakings are to hand, and that you'll have no issues in discharging them in due course, because we all know that the land registry, for example, have major backlogs, and they're a reason that they're one of the main reasons that undertakings remain undischarged. So claims experience, obviously insurers will look at your claims experience over the past number of years. Insurers do not require a copy of your claims report from insurers if you have not had a particular claim for that year. Really, they only want the claims print or the claims experience from the insurer if you've had a claim in a particular year, because what they'd like to see is how much has been paid, what reserve have they applied against the claim, in preparation maybe for a settlement. So that's the only thing they look for. If you have had a claim, insurers, all they want to see is a brief 1-page synopsis of what happened and where it is currently, and I suppose most importantly, what the firm has done to prevent a reoccurrence of such a matter. They don't want to see your entire claim file or a PDF document running to 200 pages, giving you every single correspondence on the claim, because there's only one place that's going to end up, and that's going to be deleted by the insurance company, because they just don't unfortunately have time to be reading lengthy claim files like that. Risk management is obviously still very, very important. Again, firms have made fantastic progress in risk management over the past number of years. So just make sure that just because we're heading into a softer market, and I'll explain that in a minute, just because we're heading into a softer market doesn't mean that you should fall back on your risk management procedures, because usually when you do that, that's when the claims start coming in, and that will obviously have a detrimental effect on your insurance premium. Cyber controls, obviously there's still questions asked about what cyber controls firms have in place. The majority of the renewal forms, or the renewal proposal forms, or the common proposal form as well, will ask if you have a excuse me, a standalone cyber policy in place, and whether that policy includes a cyber crime cover. And if you do have it, you should be explaining that and pointing it out to your broker, and make sure that they point it out to insurers, because that is a major fact for or major risk management plus for insurers when you have a cyber policy with cyber crime cover in place.
Sorry, Finbarr, to interrupt you there, but there was a question there. What element of cyber cover did you say was included under the PI policy? So I think you're trying to differentiate. There's two different types. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when I refer to it, the cover under the minimum terms and conditions is rectification of a deficit in a client account. And the example that I gave there, Justin, was just in relation to, for an example, as a result of a cyber crime. So if there is a cyber crime and money is stolen from the client account, that money has to be replaced within 14 days. For those type of claims, there is full cover up to the limit of 1.5 million euros under the professional indemnity policy for solicitors. Is that okay?
I think so. Yep.
Very good. Okay. So moving on, and what do we expect? As I said, it's the 1st of November at this stage. Everybody should have heard back from their or should have heard from their broker at this stage, outlining what markets they're going to be approaching, what form is required, whether it's of a benefit maybe to fill out a longer proposal form rather than just a short renewal declaration. Some insurers do require all insurers will require a longer broker proposal form or the common proposal form in order to provide a quotation or even a copy of last year's form with updated figures. Some insurers are offering early renewal with deadlines, and a new thing that we've seen this year is one insurer in particular is offering 2-year deals, where if you just roll over, they'll offer the same premium as last year, but if you sign up to 2 years, they're giving a discount of up to 10%. We are recommending to clients that they do not accept that, and our reasoning behind that is because we're now entering a softer market. A softer market means that rates are reducing. We are making savings for our existing clients on their existing premiums this year, and also we believe that is going to progress into the future and the medium term. So it is a good idea to sign into 2 years when premiums are going up, because there is then certainty about locking yourself into higher premiums coming down along the line. But when you know that the market is improving, we would, as I said, in our opinion, we believe it is not a good idea to lock yourself into 2 years when premiums are coming down. As I said, there's flat rates with insurer forbearance for increased fees. The majority of insurers now are in following the STAR process last year, where STAR were the only insurer that were giving fee forbearance. Now the vast majority of insurers are allowing some percentage of fee growth without charging you any additional premium. So for example, if your fees went up by 10% and insurers offered you the same premium as last year, that is in essence a 10% rate reduction. I know it's quite hard to get your head around, yeah, but you said rates are coming down. The rates are coming down, but not the premium. For example, if you've had a 10%, as I said, if you've had a 10% fee increase and your premium is the same, that is in essence a 10% rate reduction. Okay, so as I said, most insurers are offering that, and as I said, most of our insurers are also offering rate reductions. Standalone cyber insurance, including cyber crime, there are facilities out there. The O Leary Insurances facility protects the PI policy from such claims, depending on what limit you have for cyber crime, be it 100,000 or 250,000 euros, which means that if you have a cyber crime where there is a deficit in the client account, the cyber policy will pay out first and will not subrogate against your PI insurer. So your PI policy and your PI premium is protected for such losses up to those amounts that I said. So that's why it's so important, as I said, that you do outline, excuse me, that you do outline to insurers that you have, if you have a policy in place, because it does offer them some form of protection. Okay, so moving on to top-up insurance. We've seen claims over the past 10 years that have exceeded the minimum level of cover, be it the current 1.5 million or the old 2.5 million limit. The 1.5 million limit is now in place, I think, for nearly 10 years, which means it hasn't increased even in line with inflation. I mean, just as a point to note, we all know how, what inflation has been like over the past 12 or 18 months. And in July alone, it peaked at 9.2%. So, people should really consider, and it's a good time to consider whether they should be buying additional top-up cover. It is very, very reasonable when you compare the cost of additional million compared to what your primary 1.5 million cost is. I mean, we have an exclusive facility with Zurich, and for an additional million euros of cover, starts at 1,650 euros. So that really is very, very good value, and gives a firm a sleeping pill, I suppose, for want of a better word, to know that they have that extra bit of cover in place. Okay, so just to finish up, Justin, we'd recommend that you engage early with your broker, and if you haven't heard from them at this stage, please get on the phone to them and find out why you haven't heard from them, and find out what their strategy is for your firm this year. It's a stable market. There are competitive premiums out there. As I said, Star have additional capacity this year. We have access, those 8 insurers that we showed you, we have access to 7 of those insurers. So depending on what size firm you are, we will be approaching all of those insurers to get quotations on your behalf. Please review all potential claims and circumstances. Talk to all the partners, talk to all the solicitors to make sure that there aren't any matters that you're concerned about, or that one of your colleagues are concerned about, that may or should be reported to the insurance company. As I said, if it's only a circumstance, insurers are not in the business of penalising firms for making precautionary notifications of a matter that they may be concerned about. In fact, it's to the contrary. They look at it as good risk management, and that you're on top of the firm and know what needs to be reported and what doesn't need to be reported. Weigh up the pros and cons of shorter declaration forms. Again, your broker is best placed to advise you whether it is worthwhile filling out a longer form, or whether it is just to fill out a shorter form and deal with your incumbent insurer. If you are getting an alternative quotation, have a look at the insurer, consider what they've done over the last number of years, how long they're in the market. Are they providing the continuous cover clause? Some insurers don't, and some insurers have different wordings on what they are covering and not covering under the continuous cover clause. Just about our own exclusive market with Star, they automatically offer the continuous cover clause. It's built into the policy wording automatically, so we don't even need to ask for it. So if you move to Star, you're already given the benefit of the continuous cover clause all the way back to 2011, which is a major plus point for firms. Again, cybercrime, if you're looking for a cyber quotation, again, you can contact us, and we can give you a quotation that will include cybercrime if required. That's it. Best of luck. I think I flew through that, Justin.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to ask us a question, we'll take it on the chat. I put up a few resources for people there, just a link to the Law Society website, which is a whole lot of tools and resources there. And then the helpline, which is available Monday to Friday, 10 to 4. There's a phone number and an email if they need assistance. So there's a couple of key dates coming up, Finbarr. Do you want to just remind people of what those dates are?
Yeah, the key dates are you have to have your professional indemnity insurance renewed and in place by close of business on the 30th of November. And then your insurance broker has to upload confirmation of your cover for 23-24 into the Law Society portal. So they're the two real key dates. But what should you be doing now over the next week or 10 days is getting your form back to your insurance broker, and having a look at any new circumstances or claims that you may need to report, and get those in as soon as you can. And
just in the last few minutes that we have available to us, do you have any tips for people on how to get a reduced premium, or what are sort of common mistakes people make when applying? Or
Yeah, I suppose what we do is we'd always compare, historical proposal forms with the new proposal form that comes in. I mean, it's a legally binding contract, Justin, and people should really have a look at what what they said on the form last year versus what they said on the form this year, because especially with the shorter renewal declarations, you're basically saying that everything that you completed last year remains true and correct. And if it doesn't, you need to outline that to insurers, because the last thing that you want is an insurer looking at a proposal form a year ago saying, well, you said you were doing this, but now it transpires that the claim that you've just reported you're not doing it at all, or you've never done it. So again, just because you're being asked for a shorter renewal declaration, still dig out the longer form that you completed to make sure that all those answers remain true and correct. So I suppose that's my major tip, I suppose, Justin.
Yeah. There's a query there. I mean, they're assuming that it's too early to get the early bird rate. Well, is it ever too early to get a discount?
No, it's not. Absolutely not, Justin. As I said, there's good premiums to be had out there. Star have made additional capacity available to us and to write new business, and they're very, very competitive. So no issue at all there.
Yeah, I suppose a bit of common sense though. I wouldn't be shy about asking for discounts. Probably not what you want to be hearing, Finbarr, but I'd be asking
absolutely, for Justin. Absolutely, it is what I should be hearing, because we do it for our clients automatically. And despite what some firms may think, we work for them, not for the insurance companies. So we're out to get the best deal for our clients.
And has there been any changes at all in the common proposal form that people maybe should be aware of?
Yeah, just the sanctions questions, really, Justin. And those sanctions questions will be very easy for the vast majority of firms, because they just don't apply. They won't be dealing with sanctioned individuals or companies from Ukraine and Russia, etc. Maybe the larger top 5 or top 10 firms might have to look a bit deeper into that, because they're dealing with more foreign nationals, etc., from these countries, or high net worth individuals from Russia, etc. So that's all really. There's nothing, anything else major in the common proposal form this year.
Yeah. One area I think that causes people concern is this whole idea of material change, and what needs to go in there. Like, what is a material change?
What Justin, I think the easiest way to say it is, if in doubt, outline it. If you think it's a material change, then it probably is. Do you know what I mean? A material change is not a solicitor leaving, or becoming an LLP. It's something drastic, like a dissolution in a firm that you haven't told them about, or you've become a succeeding practice or taken over a firm during the year. Believe it or not, I mean, we still come across proposal forms where they've been clients for us for a couple of years, and in this year's form they've said they become a succeeding practice and never even told us. So it's those kind of material things that you need to watch out for, really.
Very good. At this stage, I don't think we have any more questions on the chat. If anyone wants to ask us a last question, and maybe Finbarr, you have a little second there to think about some just summary thoughts for us going forward. Maybe this is just the deadline dates and anything else that you can think about. But just next Wednesday, on the 8th of November, where if you can't get cover and you're struggling, we have Michael Cunningham from First Ireland and Simon Traynor from the Law Society Regulation will discuss the options for petitioners. And then on the 15th of November, protection of the client account on conveyancing AML with Martin Lawler. So those sessions are available now. So I don't see anybody else who wants to ask us a question at the moment. You can also, if you have any queries around your practice, you can send them to myself there at j.purcell@lawsociety.ie, and I am the practice support executive here at the Law Society. So, Finbarr, any concluding remarks for us?
Best of luck. If you need any help or need any advice, you know where I am.
Yeah, and we'll be sharing the recording and the slides out next Monday with everybody. And if you need to get them sooner, you can maybe just send me an email, and I'll try to get them to you as soon as possible. So, thanks everyone for taking the time to join us today. And Slán agus Gur Mágad. Thanks, Finbarr.
Slán, thanks very much. Thanks. Bye-bye.